¿no? ¿Dónde lo van a poner? Pregúntale.
No tienen que compartir el link para que ese teléfono que está allá atrás es tuyo. Ese teléfono es tuyo.
Sí. ¿Qué hacemos? ¿Lo compartimos en Facebook?
Sí. A ver, consigue el link. Deja esto yo. Ya le hice meterla. Y esto también. Y después cogértelo.
Dale, Norte, gracias. Guys, maybe here? No. Okay, maybe go to this. Sorry. Kinda, but yeah.
Bueno, para grabar.
¿Mande? ¿Ya lo empecé a grabar? ¿Sí?
¿Hay PowerPoint?
No.
Sí, pero...
Dale. Oye, pero espera, ¿dónde vas a compartir el link? ¿Quién lo está viendo?
No sé. 0 espectadores.
Claro, pues que no lo has compartido.
Que no sé, eso ya está refresco.
Pregúntale a Mel. ¿A qué estás buscando? ¿Cuál es el Facebook de la para compartirlo?
El
Y en
Facebook o el
Twitter.
canal.
Y en Twitter, en Instagram y en Facebook,
Sí,
¿no?
pues estamos a buscar estos Facultad de Económicas, ¿de acuerdo? Ese sitio para mí, ¿no?
Pues no se lo dejó sus cosas ahí.
Ok, vale, ahora lo veo.
Dale. Si quieres, pues, pero es que te va a tapar todo. O sea, aquí no hay nadie, pero te va a tapar todo.
¿Tienes web WhatsApp activado?
No.
Mándalo
Vale.
por mail.
¿Tienes el mail de este mail activado? Bueno. Hay que checar el correo, más often.
Donde quieras. Tú tu bolsa conmigo, ¿vale?
Vale.
Mía. ¿Aquí puedo? Sí.
Cuidado, no te das.
Welcome to the final. First of all, we want to congratulate all the teams for the hard work during the week. And also, we want to thank the judges for being here today, the coaches for training the teams, and all the delegates and every volunteer that has made this edition possible. Before announcing the finalists, I'm going to give you some instructions. I'm going to call the finalists of each division. If you are the finalists team, you will have to come to the stage, the 4 members. And once the whole team is here, you will have to pick from this bowl one paper. And this paper will determine the order of representation. And after you pick the paper, you have to stay on the step back, but still stay on the stage, on the sides. And then the finalists of the next division will do the same. Once all the finalists are on the stage, the ambassador will take you out of the room, and you will not be able to communicate with anybody, and you will stay with your ambassador until you are 40%. So now, the moment of truth. So, from Division A, the finalist is University of Alberta.
saquen.
Now, from Division B, University of British Columbia. The finalist from Division C is National University of Singapore. Fourth. And finally, from Division D, the finalist team is Wilfrid Laurier University. Even though we already know the number,
Yo he comido. Yo me he comido.
okay, so now please the ambassadors come forward and take your team out of it until we call you to present. Okay, thank you. Please, if you are not finalists, please stay in the room because the final will start in 5 minutes. Thank you.
¿Listo las presentaciones? ¿Cuáles son las presentaciones?
Vale, Laurier, este es de 3. Está en la final.
Ya.
Ahí le tocó la primera.
A ver, luego así que se pueden cambiar los nombres. ¿Quién los tiene?
No, pero da igual, yo te voy diciendo.
Ya, pero ¿quién era el primero en presentar? ¿Quién era el
Laurier.
primero en presentar? ¿Sí? Va.
Por eso te digo, yo te lo voy a
Bueno, igual y me bajo todo de
¿Quién
una vez.
estuvo ahora?
¿Quién más era?
Este es British
pero
Columbia,
lo bajo como
Alberta.
PDF, ¿no?
No, pones el PowerPoint.
Es que la vez pasada el PowerPoint estaba... Mel,
No, prueba.
¿sabes si... ¿Te acuerdas que el de British Columbia la vez pasada estaba... que tenía problemas la presentación? ¿Lo bajo como PowerPoint o PDF? Están los dos. O sea, yo el lunes lo tuve que usar como PDF, entonces no sé.
Ahora sí. Prueba el PowerPoint un segundo. Vamos a funciona. Ábrelo un segundo y si va bien. Ya, sobre todo. No, pon las. Sobre todo las. Ya hasta el final, ya los aprendes.
Madre mía, que hicieron todo esto. Sí, está.
Funciona, ¿no? Pues déjales el paso.
¿No?
Vale, estos son los terceros, no, los cuartos en presentar. Y luego, estos son los segundos en presentar. Esto es en US.
Igual, y le voy a cambiar los nombres. Los guardo y les cambio los nombres.
Dice 5 minutos.
Es que mira, marcaba, bueno, no sé, me decía que pasaba el límite.
Esto es Alberta.
Ah, entonces ya lo bajé, pero ya lo bajé, ¿no? Entonces, no.
Aún no. Ahí está escrito.
Bueno, que como quieras.
Fran, ¿quieres tu bolsa o me la quedo yo? Sí. ¿Te la guardo la bolsa?
¿Eh?
No necesitas saberla aún, ¿no? Va a empezar esta presentación en 3 minutos.
Ah, pero ¿saberla qué? Lo de UBC. Ah, no, ya, me bajé la... Sí, me bajé la presentación y sin problema.
Son 2 segundos los terceros.
No sé, si tienes el orden y me lo puedes mandar para igual... ¿Este quién era?
A ver, yo te lo puedo decir.
Ya, pero no, para guardarlos aquí, ¿sabes?
Alberta.
alerta y luego ya vienen, ¿no?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, you will have 20 minutes to present your proposal to the judges, and then 15 minutes of answers. I will remind you that you will 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds. Now I will let the judges introduce themselves, and we'll start the presentation. Good luck.
My name is Julia Fuentes. I work for Navarra. Lastly, we
Hi, this is Untitled. I come from very much proud of also
Hi, good afternoon. I'm David Fundes, working in Amy and I live in Liberia.
Hi, my name is Sal Menendez. I work here at Spain, the testing and digital transformation. Best of luck.
In learning about the data, we were taken aback, challenged by an industry that's facing such change with its customer preferences, completely new competitors coming into the space. But it struck us as a little odd. It was quite a risky situation in an industry whose namesake is one of being risk averse. But fear not, my name is Samantha, and together with my colleagues Isaac, Matt, and Ruslan, we are here to make sure that we ensure a win in the insurance market for our Olympia. Now, being tasked with changing or establishing a digital roadmap for Olympia is one that comes with one complex issues to ask. And so, in looking at this slide, you can see overwhelming everything we have. What we realized diving deeper is there's a way for us to bucket these issues into 3 core questions that both help to make sure that the issues are clarified, but also help to empower the direction that we take. First group of questions determines our focus. What products do we need to launch online? And what back-end initiatives do we have to have in place in order to be able to offer them? Then we need to determine who that new online customer is. What are the front-end initiatives we are looking for? And how can we make sure that that customer is distinct from the customers that we currently work with in our Olympia group to limit cannibalization with our current sales network? Once we've found them, we now need to foster a culture of innovation and change within our organization to make sure that we're ready to embrace not just the visualization trend, but any new future trend that comes up with. It's with these 3 questions in mind that we've come up with a comprehensive recommendation. And that is to continue to accelerate the move online by focusing on offering tailored niche products to individual insurance clients. Now, with focus, we see a launch of the auto insurance and travel insurance both on our app and on our website, and also the use of big data and artificial intelligence to tell us what are the next new niche product offerings that we can roll out on the platform by understanding what customers and competitors need. Finally, we think that there's a specific niche segment that we want to focus called the selective socialite, who will interact with Olympia entirely online. And we also see current customers working with us through our online app for their insurance. We utilize several technologies in the front end, including chatbots, Olympia diaries, which is content creation to educate consumers on insurance, and also sentiment analysis to not just acquire customers, but to help to retain them. And finally, in foster, we want to not just again prepare for this change, but prepare for the future direction and the future change in the organization that Olympia will look. And so we want to have a repeatable, scalable change management strategy. We'll pilot that strategy with this digital initiative change, and we'll also have a future focus on creating new ideas and scanning the environment by establishing an Olympia idea lab. Together, with these 3 prongs of our recommendation, we surpassed the 2020 revenue goal by adding an incremental €71 million by 2020. But what's really important to note here is the strategy doesn't just stop at 2020, it fosters further growth beyond to help make sure that Olympia continues to win. So let's start with focus. Determining what are the products and niche tailored offerings we want to have online, and why those set us up for success.
And exactly as Sam mentioned, we actually identified our strategy as being focused on 2 main things. First of all, the uniqueness. We want our offerings to be unique from those that are currently out there by the insurance. And then also want to limit the implementation of our current business, our brokers and agents and people like that, because they're really the ones that are bringing the sales into our company. We don't want to ignore them and want to better them. And this is really us understanding that the widespread change right away is going to be very has to be stage-based, and we can't just change to online right away. We'll actually have to take a step-by-step approach. Moving on to the next slide, we've identified the key critical points that we need to address when we're bringing a new platform to our online sales. So if we want to introduce a new insurance policy, sending it online, we actually have to ensure that they comply with these policies. And we have to also understand that this type of digital change will not happen overnight. We want to make it as incremental as possible to avoid the implementation of the sales of our partners and people that are in. So we started looking at the life insurance and non-life insurance as two main categories of the business that we have today. And just looking at the non-life insurance product, it's a lot more commoditized. The business as this is a lot easier to complete the sale of this policy to the consumer without having to put them on the phone and ask them a bunch of questions. So that's why I think it's the best option for us to go in the future. And within that category, we actually identified the auto insurance and travel insurance. I'm going to go into more detail why those are the best options for us. So in terms of policies, what are the specific products we're providing to our consumers? And first of all, it's the auto insurance, the motor vehicle insurance. And the reason why we picked that insurance is because that's something that consumers expect to see no matter what. Moving to online is being provided by every other company online today, and we know that's going to be the future, selling policies online. And motor vehicle insurance is something so common that people renew it on a yearly basis, and they just want to have them as easily as possible. We're going to focus on general insurance, but we're also going to focus on the insurance of non-taxable owners. So we're recognizing this new market of millennials who don't really want to own a car, who are more into a sharing economy, who don't have the finances to contribute, buy a complete vehicle for themselves. So we're going to focus on them as well as the insurance for non-owners. And then secondly, the travel insurance. We're actually recognizing that Spain is a huge, has a huge transportation industry, and we'll also see that there's a lot of tourists here around the area. And we believe that this is the perfect fit for the organization. Another interesting point about the travel insurance is that actually it's not introduced in Spain, a division of the company yet. So we actually did bring it in such a niche product for us today that we won't cannibalize any of the sales of our partners that we have right now and the people that sell our policies. And we'll focus on single and multi-trip insurance that can use for our customers and general versus travel insurance. And moving on to the next slide, we actually understand that all of these changes has to come with the changes in our infrastructure as we have today. So we're going to start with the backend and frontend. Frontend being our mobile app and the website that we have to provide the services to consumers. And the backend is being the logic behind all these applications. And we identified big data as one of the biggest contributors to the insurance industry. Understanding that big data and the general collection of information is really crucial for the insurance industry because that's how all the calculations are completed for risks and mitigations and how we can provide pricing strategies for our consumers. So we're actually going to focus on something like a data warehouse. It's going to allow us to collect all data in a single place and clean it, distribute it properly, make sure that it's very accessible, and it's going to be the core of our entire application of building machine learning models on top of that and AI models in the future, and it's going to really improve our services in the long term. And finally, with this backend technology and the data warehouse separation, I actually believe that we'll create this continuous loop where we can bring in new products one by one and keep expanding our online product that we offer online. And we believe that this is the right strategy for the long term for the company.
Exactly. And actually, technically entering both auto and travel today, we open up a new opportunity for 150. But it doesn't just stop there. Because with the integration of big data, you can continue to evaluate what new product offerings are looking to go online and achieve growth by tactically entering into new markets that way. And so with this section, we wanted to determine our focus. Determine what products are we offering online, and we answer that by saying start with auto, go to travel, and then let the data tell you where to go next. And we also wanted to figure out what the back-end process is that you and we truly believe that big data collection is a way for us to not just inform new product launch decisions, but inform pricing decisions and truth analysis. But we really want to make sure we're using artificial intelligence to learn more. Now that we've determined where we want to focus, let's figure out who this new customer is that's going to be interacting with online. And what are the strategies that we have to have in place to actually effectively?
Yeah, so the first thing we want to look at is look at that new customer target market, which is those selected socialites, and then compare them to the current market. And we see really there's three key groups. First, they're involved in the sharing economy, and as such, they don't buy as much. Second of all, they're younger and they're pushing back some of their important decisions, like the purchase of insurance. And finally, they do have less disposable income, and that means that they are more selective with the products that they buy. What this means is an attractive target market, but we have to be very appropriate and targeted in the way that we go about it. The way we actually think about that is by looking at that customer journey and comparing those current customers to those new target customers. And so we think of
that as a four-stage process from initial consideration all the way to purchase. The first thing I want to note is that for those current customers, 3 of those 4 stages actually involve that broker agent. But stepping a step further, we realize the real important piece here is that post-purchase. We recognize that 78% of purchasing decisions are made through that point. We also recognize 2 key things from it. The first is that we can target that new target market, selective social aid, purely online and keep them on that platform. However, we can also maintain our broker agent relationship with our current market and make sure that they get that post-purchase interaction, which is so important to avoid that conflict. So now that we've really defined how to approach them, we want to think about how we go after them. There's really 2 considerations. There's the front-end operations, where we're going to look at things like data generation, also chatbot, and then there's the marketing strategy. We want to focus on how we educate the consumer and how we transact. Second is that front-end initiative. We want to focus on both convenience and also customizing. So the first way we do that is by actually tailoring some of the data that Ruslan spoke about from our backend and offering that to our clients by tailoring specific quotes to them based on customers with similar. They can compare the customers that have gotten similar insurance and also have options for different levels. An additional step is to actually implement chatbots, which are automated online services where we don't need to have the personnel internally, which frees up convenience for the customer as they're not waiting. Now that we define that front end operation, we want to put that marketing strategy. And really the way we think of it is by educating the consumer first and then transacting. So what we did is we looked at your current blog and we see a great opportunity to actually educate that new target market to make them comfortable with it. We want to focus on how to blogs and also personal stories about either celebrities or everyday individuals. And using the case study of Wealthsimple as an example, they are able to teach, they're a fintech asset manager, and they're able to use educationals to teach the customers about their products and make them more comfortable with it. And so what we did is we actually looked at an example of that. So what you can see on the left is an Instagram ad for a blog, and on the right is what that would look like internally. So the second thing we want to look at is sentiment analysis, how we transact with customers. What sentiment analysis allows us to do is to scrape social media to look for trends about either competitors or the brand, and then use that to target customers. So here's an example. Say John Doe goes on and has a really bad experience with an insurance company. So he says something bad about the company that he really doesn't like it. Then our sentiment analysis actually picks that up, understand that this is a lead and an opportunity, and then targets them through an ad. What we really want to highlight here is that we're able to integrate those back-end and front-end operations to target this new customer.
And so exactly as I said, the goal in this bucket was to find, to figure out who that new online customer is. How do we tailor our front-end initiatives and our marketing strategies? And also how do we make sure that we're limiting the cannibalization with our current sales? And with the integration of customized offerings based on the customer data, chatbots, the Helvetia diaries, which is information about learning about insurance and not necessarily selling the product, and also by scraping the data of social media, private responses, it's really how we're able to achieve. One thing to know for the combination of these, we're actually able to save average customer acquisition costs from industry average. So this is not just a strategy that makes sense for Olympia, it's one that can scale going forward to allow us to capture continued success in the insurance market without while achieving costs. And so now that we figured out where we're focusing and where we're finding our customers, let's figure out how do we bolster the internal culture within our organization to be one that embraces innovation and change to make sure we can execute on this strategy.
So exactly as Sam mentioned there, it's really a matter of making sure that the internal organization is set to go forward with this change that's coming. This is not a matter of simply taking a digital strategy, putting it into the organization. The organization itself needs to change in order to accommodate that digitalization going forward. The world is changing, as Ruslan talked about earlier, and if everyone is not on board, you won't be able to move forward. So going forward, in this section, I have a change management plan, and we put together this plan for how you can see that going forward within the organization. And we actually have this great opportunity with the digitalization strategy to use that as a pilot program to really integrate that change management arm into Helvetia. The first thing we see is management support. It's very important that the top management is shown supporting the back end and the front end to talk about all the innovations my colleagues mentioned earlier. But the goal here is to really make sure this is a modular and scalable approach that can fit into the organization. And I'll talk about where we see them going in a couple of years. The next thing we see is education and training, really making sure all the employees within the organization, as I said, are on board with that digital change. And one of the things we'd like to propose is the Helvetia Digital Development Conference, where actually Victor Zarago would be able to speak to all of his employees to share his vision for the company, what is going on, make sure they know where the future is, but at the same time, provide those employees with training opportunities, training modules, really make sure that they understand where the future is, how they can be a part of that. And finally, the last thing we see are introducing liaison roles into the organization. This is the insurance value chain, and what we see are currently these departments are very separate. Hiring or identifying one or two people within those departments to add on to a liaison role to allow them to communicate within other departments really ensures that all of that knowledge, understanding, innovation is being transformed and translated, communicated across all of those different departments. And finally, this is all short term. These are things that you can do now to help embrace the digitalization strategy. What we want to see Helvetia as a successful company going forward. We want to see lots of innovation, continued innovation. And how do we see that happening? Is through innovation labs. This is something that's very popular. What is it? It's an agile team, smaller groups of individuals working without set deadlines, working without oversight by management to say, we need to have this done by the end of the week. The teams are working independently, and the goal is to come up with prototypes, send them to management, and say, here's what I built as a prototype. Is it worth continuing? So how do we see this operating? We would move those two existing teams that I talked about to the innovation labs. Really ensure that there's that culture of innovation, and that needs to be their focus. And what we see is partnering with the University of Barcelona. Why? Because you would have that, the people use the resources, but not necessarily the technology, not necessarily the infrastructure, but the University of Barcelona does. So we see that partnership is really offering opportunity to leverage what you have as well as what they have to set the both of you up for success in the future. We actually see this as something that's been done in Canada. The Royal Bank, one of the largest companies in Canada, was facing a challenge. They had all of these great people and they wanted to innovate, but they weren't able to have that internal change quickly enough. So what they did was they partnered with the University of Toronto and made use of all of their state-of-the-art facilities in order to bring that innovation, set RBC up for continued success going forward.
And so in this bucket, we wanted to determine how we're fostering that culture of change. And the biggest point that we want to land home here is that it's not just about figuring out how to change digitally. Insurance is going to continue to change and it's going to change fast. We need a broad change management strategy. Let's pilot it by the digitalization. And finally, through integrating the Identity Idea Lab, we can actually make sure that we're always looking forward, figuring out what our competitors do and how can we set ourselves up to continue to build it. So now that we've told you how we're finding our focus, finding those customers, and fostering that culture, let's put it all together. So one thing we did want to lay out is the detailed implementation. Happy to go into more detail. What we wanted to highlight is while there were a lot of initiatives that we do see them all being executed within 5 years as something that we can actually get results from within the 2 years that we have goals to achieve the revenue by 2025. And another thing that we wanted to make clear is there was a large concern about channel relationships. And so we talked a lot about how we maintain relationships. But something with mediators and partners is there's still opportunity for us to work with them in a market because our blog posts and our increased social media presence is one that will help drive traffic to the online as well. Customers are always going to be looking for great valuation platforms, and these can help bolster their activity and opens it up to new partners to auto insurance, travel insurance that we want.
What we've done is a detailed financial analysis, and I want to highlight those numbers there. First of all, we do hit that goal by 20. And beyond that, we're able to do that while maintaining that constraint of 1 million euros per year and also generating a sufficient return.
What we've done for this year, we learned exactly how we answered which products are we launching, what back-end issues, what front-end initiatives are customers looking for, how do we limit impact on the network, and how do we make sure that we're And overall, we truly believe the recommendation is worth it. It actually invigorating your reach online by tactically offering new products to individuals by determining your focus, finding your customers, and fostering a culture of engagement is one that will set a idea up for success. Thank you very much for listening.
How you mentioned the effect of this being aware of the pricing of the products and the expectation of the aggregate. So with the nice of the addition.
The one thing that we had and that we that is through the collection, we're not necessarily opportunity, especially with millennials or younger individuals. We often get concerned that I don't need all of it, a complete coverage in all the space. So I actually need this one niche thing, and I don't need to. And so in analyzing data, what are those needs often, we can actually create products that are more specialized and targeted to other people. And so that price comparison aggregator is then somehow qualified because we're on.
Thank you for your presentation. One of the main is was the additional Salesforce and putting this let's say kind of application I want to products and pattern or something. But it's also mentioned not about insurance and saying that the market is going more and more online, but the products are yet on the traditional one. So how do you manage this?
Before I jump over to our implementation, I think one of the key things to consider there is there are really two different types of consumers. There are those who are willing to purchase online and those who are not willing. So with that in mind, the people who are willing to purchase online will now be going online to complete these transactions, and they won't be engaging with brokers. The people who aren't willing to go online will still be engaging with brokers, and they will still be engaged in that relationship. But one interesting thing that I wanted to point out here is this bit down at the bottom, switching our renewal services to be online. So what we see is now once you have an insurance product, if you're looking to simply renew the same product on a year-by-year basis and not make any changes, there isn't a need for that consumer to pick up the phone and talk to an agent. It would be in their best interest as well as yours to simply have to go online to get renewal there. With that in mind, we recognize the fact that the broker could be very upset in that situation if they were to lose out on commission. So in this case, because we have that original data, recognizing that the broker was the person who brought this person in initially, whether or not they renew online or through the broker, that initial broker who made that connection will still be the one to get those commissions. And that being said, although we are switching to the online, we do still plan to have the brokers there in case you want to make a change to your policy or make an upgrade. So it's really a matter of ensuring that we can work with the brokers to both provide convenience to the consumer, but still make sure the brokers feel so we're not cutting them out of that part of the relationship.
So I was wondering, I thought you basically took a decision. There would have been another way out of the question, which could have sounded like you'll go outside and buy your tickets because and can you walk us through the reason why you not do that? First,
investment we have to make today in order to be successful in the next 10 years. And yes, we can outsource today, but at some point we'll realize that so much of our business is going digital that it's just not profitable for us to keep outsourcing to somebody else. That's why I believe that having this development team in our own company is actually much more beneficial. And then adding on to the point that Matthew made about the digital team that's going to be working on proof of concept idea. I actually believe that that's what's going to keep us on top of every other other company that's trying to disrupt the industry. Right? We believe that we can build these proof of concept ideas and having our larger reach and larger customer base we already have developed over time. I actually believe that we can develop those products better than them and provide them as our own service developed in-house ourselves. We really believe that digitalization is actually the goal, and that's where innovation is coming to develop that for us.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. I would like to request you if you could share a budget of 1 million per year. Will explain highlights the split of how you decide to maximize this budget for investment.
Yeah, absolutely. So we look at the $1 million budget. We really want to build out those back end and front end. So the first one we look at is those warehouse costs. And really, that 2018 number is lower given that we're happy. But really, what it is about $400,000 a year. Then we look at that data team, it'll be about $20,000, sorry, $200,000 a year. And again, the back end team is the same, and ultimately building up that office and equipment. So really, at steady state, we're reaching about $90,000 a month, giving us some room depending on the cost to rise.
Yeah, thank you. Just have a couple of quick questions. The first one is, knowing the insurance industry, most of the time, broker one for the clients. We're going towards a more digitalized industry where the broker sort of loses that first touch or that first contact with the customer. How do you guys plan on doing segmentation once you guys have implemented all this? Correct, yeah. So how are you going to determine or personalize the products that you can offer?
Yeah, so well, the first thing that we do with that is injecting time. We're actually looking at a lot of data about and we can figure out exactly we can develop a profile about our customer and figure out what are the offerings that go along with what they're looking for right now, as well as what the products also the offerings looking for that we've seen similar customers before in the past. There's one thing for us to kind of just develop online, and it's cost them much faster than additionally something that we can understand the customer going forward is through the sentiment analysis that we spoke about, because it actually speaks to them not just how they interact with their, how they interact with their, how they do their website, it's actually looking at how they interact with social media and networks in general. And so being able to analyze exactly what types of sentiments are they expressing in the comments they make, pictures they post, things like that. You can actually tailor offerings directly to them. So the example that we gave was one of someone having negative experience with another insured. But let's say, for example, we have a customer who we worked with before who announces they have a significant life, a big event in their life. So let's say, for example, they announce that they're excited to be going on a graduation trip. Yeah. At that point, because we know that they're about to go on a trip, we can actually try to nudge towards them without new travel insurance that we're offering. So we can act and interact with our customers in new ways that we have a physical broker.
So, if I get this right, you are basically going through online. And then the punishment is actually very hard. So walk us through the process why you decided to enter this.
So with auto insurance, when we talked about we wanted to have two offerings. So first thing we wanted to make sure that we had auto insurance for regular car owners. And so we analyzed it based on segment growth, concentration politics, and the there not really be cannibalization of current channels and also their level of personal. Analyzing both of the negative, we want to next slide and watch for non-owners as well as owners. So the reason for going with owners in auto insurance is we felt that because it is something that everyone is offering online now, if consumers are expecting to have that process size, it's not acceptable for us to not have a product. The consumers are looking at that. That was our reason for going with regular. That's something a little different. Not necessarily, I want to go on insurance. That's just offering the insurance products. With that meaning, I'm the millennial who only needs to deliver the best car all the time, or sometimes you drive their car, drive their defense car, but they want to make sure that they're still in the event that when they are using one of these alternate bases, or they're still protected in case of injury or accident. And so that's a new product that we can offer to offering the auto insurance as something that's particularly good to the customer that we're using.
Next question is, are you planning to this traditional based channel in the new digital space?
I think one of the big things to consider there is that we do want to keep these brokers, the agents, that type of thing, even as we move forward towards digitalization. So I mentioned earlier that there will be some consumers that just aren't willing to purchase online, and the brokers and agents will need to be there for that relationship. But the other thing is that we can look to see if these agents and brokers are looking for a more non-commission based type of income. As Isaac talked about earlier, the Helvetia diaries, blog posts, really providing information towards the consumers is definitely something that these brokers and sales agents may be willing to do a little bit of work on the side to really share their stories and their journeys and educate the consumers as a whole. So it's not a matter of saying, look, you're selling insurance now, you always need to be selling insurance 100% going forward. It's a matter of saying, look, these are the types of insurance that people are willing to buy and how they're willing to buy it. But we are here to support you in other ways to make sure that you are still able to be successful as the company becomes.
The beginning of the presentation was the business concept. Being in car business, being online is different from now. So how is this business reflected there?
So the way that we is through their approach that actually comes with how we launch a new and niche product. So because we're able to actually analyze sentiment, figure out exactly what are new and niche products that we're purchase online that we aren't products that we've seen before with insurance or aren't products that they've ever had the opportunity. And through developing these new niches and continuing to the digitalization industry is offer products that a small insurtech isn't actually doing. What we found is with insurtech, they offer in such specific niches, they're going to be able to offer a lot of deep dive products in one specific area, but not one that can give you a platform where you can customize the bundle of niches that you're doing. With Helvetia, we want to make sure that you have that culture of innovation to offer those niches, but still being one of a company that has a suite of products and has federal insurance across all areas.
I'm coming back to the financial stuff. So right now, we'd like to know in some details about the partnership. Could you share with us the range of what it is?
Yeah, sure. So when we started with an overall go with the market size, look at what market we could capture, and from there we really built down to realize the available market sizes in both the travel space as well as the auto space. And that drive there really enabled us to look at that recommendation during the presentation. And further to that, this is really the breakdown of how we look at motor vehicle growing over time. So really, effectively, you see both motor vehicle and travel gaining additional share. The segmentation of growth from 2017.
de allá no sale.
Pues,
Se pone muy abierto.
Alberta, va.
No se va a hacer nada. Esto se habla mucho más allá.
Estoy haciendo esto.
Poligrafía.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The presentation is about to start. I remind you that you will have 20 minutes to present the proposal for the judges, and then will be 15 minutes of questions and answers. I will remind you when you have 30 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds left. Now, I will let the judges introduce themselves, and the time will start as soon as they are speaking. Good luck.
Good afternoon. I am Nick India. I have been working in the law sector for, I've been working in the communications industry for 15 years. I will use the best of my
Good afternoon. My name is Kiva Cortes. I work in Navarra on the digital business departments in Israel for years.
So good afternoon, this is Piero Martini. I'm the other half of it. I'm a Spanish one and represent Europe. Business development, digitalization, innovation, good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. It's David Pontes from AMIL. I'm working in consulting since 14 years ago. I'm really excited to hear you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samuel Mendez. I work for PwC Spain as the customer-centric leader and the business development.
As we know today, the insurance industry is in a mature phase, but we see this kind of advancement of insurance technology and digitization, and what does that exactly mean for your organization? Well, I think your chairman said it best when he said, if you're standing still, you're falling behind, and that really is the case here today. If you're not adopting, you will be falling behind and lose your advantage in this marketplace and not be able to survive any longer. So that's where we come in. We're here today to show you a strategy of how to utilize digitalization and insurance technology to really capitalize and have a sustainable business in the long run. My name is Rachel, this is Kelsey, Chris, and Paris, and we are Spark Solutions.
Today, you brought to us a challenge to design a comprehensive digital strategy. And we're going to let you know our recommendation now and how we'll flesh it out throughout the presentation. It is going to have a partnership with InsurTech for rapid digitalization. Our impact, 81% return on investment, 50% increase on digital sales, and a complete online system.
So you asked us to build you a roadmap, a step-by-step process of how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be in a digital space. We're going to be going through each and every one of those steps today, and we're so excited. So the first thing we did was understand the industry that you operate in. This is crucial because it lets us know the direction we need to take. So while there are many factors that characterize the market that you're in, what's really important here is that it's a saturated market where you have a relatively low market share, but you have a wonderful online presence that we want to capitalize on. Additionally, you will need to take an aggressive approach for technological innovation to stay competitive.
It is known that your current sales network has really helped you get to where you are today, and they've done a wonderful job. But currently, growth is very slow and something needs to change. In comparison, digital sales growth is 297%. The key takeaway is that you must focus on digitalization if you want to increase your growth.
Laura, take a quick look at your financials situation at the moment. So I'm going to draw your attention to the lower graph there. And the red dotted line shows the current revenue forecast at your growth rate of 2% right now. And that hits about 423 million, 17 million off of your goal of 440. That's where the purple line trajectory goes, and that's what you need to hit. So right now you're at about 396 million with a 6.7% margin, and your market position is 28th in Spain. So where you want to go is you want to hit that 440 million in revenue. You want greater than 7% return on investment so you can increase your margins, and you want to improve that market position so you can have a better hold on that insurance market.
So how do we bridge this gap that Chris has mentioned, these financial barriers to be able to be successful? There's a couple different options to utilize this digitalization and this insurance technology.
The first is to build it in-house with your own people or hiring externally in your organization. The second is to buy or acquire, and the third is to partner. First, we'll look at build. Some of the pros are strategic alignment. You're able to get everybody on the same board that's able to build this in-house. However, it is very costly, and it does take a lot of time to be able to do this because you have to hire externally people to come in because you yourself are experts in insurance, but not necessarily this technology and this artificial intelligence that you need to be able to survive. So for these reasons, with your time constraint and your current budget allocations, we don't think that this is a smart alternative. The next alternative is to buy or acquire. And although this is attractive because you're able to customize exactly what you want with technology and these organizations that provide these solutions, it's not a very good alternative because, again, it is very costly. These acquisitions cost upwards of $1 million, and that's something that you can't really afford right now with your current budget from headquarters. So it also has a bit of market turmoil, and for those reasons, we don't think that this is another alternative that you should go with. The last is to partner, and this is a good alternative because it has shared risks and costs associated with it. You're able to utilize your partner and be able to kind of take some of that shared benefits while mitigating a bit of the risks. Additionally, there is you can work towards a complete ecosystem and be able to have these solutions really impactful in the future. Although this does come with a little bit of reduced independence, you're able to potentially partner with them for a while until you have the capital to be able to acquire their IP or their technology in the future. So for those reasons, partnering is the best alternative for you.
So now that we know that partnership is the best option, who exactly do you partner with? We've chosen two options for you today, a large tech company or an insurtech. Both offer different pros and cons that I'll go through now. So for a large company, they of course have they have much more resources than a small organization. They have much more solutions, and this can really help drive your business forward. They also bring name recognition, which can be important in a saturated market with your low market share in terms of even like looking at something like Amazon, who recently created their own healthcare insurance company in the US. Something like that really brings focus to your organization. But on the other side, their massive capital can also be a risk to you. They have much more power in the market, and this might not give you as much negotiation power that you're looking for. And of course, they are going to be expensive. Then we look at insurtechs, and we focus specifically on those here in Spain because there is quite a development that is happening. So here are 3 examples that you could go with, but what's really wonderful about them is that they're agile and they're willing to adapt to the services you want to provide. More importantly, they're willing to partner. They know that they need you to be able to scale their business and make it feasible. And that's the best thing that you can bring to them. Of course, there is greater risk if they don't have proven results, but we've mitigated this in the ones that we've chosen to recommend to you today. And we believe that their ability to be agile will help mitigate some of the smaller service offerings that they have. So there is one more thing I would like to touch on with insurtechs. There is belief in the market that insurtechs are here to completely revolutionize the insurance industry, that they're here to disrupt. That's simply not true. In fact, a study by McKinsey & Company shows that only 9% actually aim to disrupt, and that 61% are here to support your business. And we want to capitalize on that. They aim to enhance and support your digitalization goal, and that's why they're the best option for you today. So what does partnership actually look like? Today we've chosen an organization for you called SysNet. You've worked with SysNet in the past, you worked with them last year in a smaller project, and this is just going to grow the scale. This goes back to the idea that they use your systems to grow their business as well, you're able to utilize theirs. So what does this look like exactly to you? It's looking at back-end software and front-end dashboard development. This is front-end dashboards that really customize to your customer, which is something that they're demanding, and it gives you access to key data analytics that you need to develop future products. On their side of things, they get access to your private API, which allows them to develop better solutions, and they're able to work with your digital team to really focus that in and make sure that it's something geared to the best segments for you, such as the ultra high. This is an 18-month plan, as this is the average time to implement a service like this. So with that in mind, you might be asking, how do we keep innovating after that initial partnership? I'd like to introduce to you the Hildaria Hackathon. something that we're so excited to present to you today. So this will be a yearly 24-hour hackathon here in beautiful Pamplona. And what it would do is it will allow you to meet, identify, and select innovators in the Spanish ecosystem to not only support you, but also improve your services. What it's doing is using those key data analytics that you believe to be relevant to your business at that time to develop new products, to develop new software, and to improve on what you already have. You can reach out to these organizations through the conference in Madrid that happens yearly and offer exclusive prizes and the ability to implement their solutions in your own business.
So next we want to look at the product offerings of what this InsurTech partnership and this digitalization will be capitalizing on. So we noticed that 70% of your organization is built on selling non-life insurance. Additionally, non-life insurance has seen a very significant growth with about 4.7% in the past year. They're also very flexible, and this aligns really well with digitalization and insurance technology as you're able to kind of capitalize on the fast-moving customization that people want. They want to be able to log in and change their policies, upload claims, and be able to have that experience really quickly. But when we look at life insurance, there's 5 dominant players in the market that take over about 61%. So for you as like 28th place in the market, to be able to capitalize and penetrate in that area seems a little bit difficult. So that's why we believe that the best option for you is to go with non-life insurance for this digitalization technology. So looking at the target market, we talked a bit about how non-life is more flexible. And we really want to reiterate that with who we're targeting as well. So we want to target individual consumers who have this need for customization, who want simplicity, who are first-time insurance users, and in this younger demographic as well. Additionally, we want to look at small businesses and startups as if they are rather similar in the insurance industry when it comes to what kind of needs that they have. So with that in mind, I want you to meet independent Isabella. She is a 20-year-old nurse who loves to travel. She has a motorcycle that she likes to ride around in beautiful Pamplona. And she really embraces life to its fullest. That being said, she has very active media habits, both on Instagram and Facebook, and she really understands what those around her are saying. She's really influenced by word of mouth and what she sees online and through her friends. So the products from front to end, we want to talk about this front and what this will really look like. So we talked about having online and mobile apps. We think that the best to capitalize on this target market is really to do both. You need to make sure that you have independent customized dashboards that you're developing with your insurance techs. So a mock-up of this is this phone that would be used for independent Isabella. So she logs on to her customized platform with Helvetia Insurance. And I just want to highlight a couple of these features of this app. The first is this customization. So independent Isabella, like I mentioned, loves to travel. Let's pretend she's going on a trip to Southeast Asia for this summer, and she's gone for a significant amount of time. She wants to increase her travel insurance coverage, but decrease her motorcycle insurance because she's not going to be here to ride it. So being able to log onto the app and change those preferences there and very quickly is very advantageous for her. Additionally, photo claims are becoming increasingly popular in this industry. We see your competitors doing this, and they need to do it as well. They're able to be on vacation, maybe something happens, and they're able to submit a claim and get results back from you very quickly. This will improve customer service, giving you more clients and people happier in general, and increasing your net promoter score, which is really key for the success of your business. So how will someone like independent Isabella know about all these services and offerings that you're doing? Well, I'd like to introduce you to the Helvetia Helps campaign. And this is really focusing on a couple different aspects to get the word around about the education of how awesome your technology really is. The first thing we want to focus on is videos and posts on Instagram describing what this technology is, showcasing somebody using it, interacting with it, and how customizable it really can be. From there, you want to look into search engine optimization, things like Google AdWords, to really showcase that when people are looking for customizable insurance programs, that you come up as one of the top main people. So, independent Isabella has seen your marketing campaign. She's logged in, she's created an account, and she's purchased insurance from you. Now, what does it mean? I'd like to bring it back to data collection. This is something that can be really value added to your organization. And what we want to do is create a 360-degree view that allows you to identify new opportunities for your customers and for your business.
So while there's many different aspects of data that you can look at, and they each provide different parts of value, I'd like to highlight two of them, being risk assessment and history matching through something like Rachel mentioned as the photo claims submission. So when looking at risk assessment, there are studies that show that if you are able to automate the underwriting process completely, you can actually cut your costs by 40%. This is significant and will make a big difference in your organization moving forward. Additionally, using something like the photo claims and matching it to the past claims that that person has made allows you to reduce fraud. We know that in the US alone, the fraudulent claims market is $40 billion. Even if a small percentage of that was allocated to your company, reducing that can make a very big difference in your cost and in your value to your shareholders.
Now, artificial intelligence, one of the largest innovations of today, and what's going to tie this all together to increase the efficiency of your organization and improve all aspects of it. So how is this artificial intelligence going to work? Well, initially going to build a team of 5 developers that are just going to work on the algorithm. This is going to be one of the most costly aspects of this plan, costing just under €2 million. Then they're going to learn from that SysNet data analytics and the data that you own as an organization. So this algorithm is going to learn from previous data, as well as data collected on the new user interfaces and the logins, tracking behavior, past claims, usage, and different aspects that your customers will provide you. And what this will do will allow you to learn what your customers are doing, what's their behavior like, what best policies match them, and what best policies can you create, and what new policies can you create for your different types of consumers. So this is going to be a supervised learning algorithm. So what this means is that your developers are going to give them a certain criteria in terms of delivering policies, and it's going to test them on it based off different customers. So you're going to go through a different customer profile, it's going to think about different policies to provide, and it's going to say whether it's right or wrong, and it's going to go back and then retest it again and again before delivering it to the public. That's going to be an artificial neural network. Now, this is more complex and will take more time to integrate, but it allows a greater pattern recognition to provide those greater policies. So this enhances the customer experience. Now, Isabella is 22 when she gets her first insurance from Helvetia. But what this algorithm will allow you to do is to track her behavior over time, track her policies, see where she's at when she's 26, 27, with greater disposable income, increasing her flexibility, increasing her engagement, your retention rate, and ultimately allowing you to have the best policy for her possible. So the resources that are going to be required, so as you know, you want to get this launched in 2018. You need this out soon. Now, digitalization is fast and happening now. So you have €1 million per year for 3 years, but we want to see if you can get a reallocation and have that as just €3 million lump sum over 3 years. So this will enable you to build more on the website, the mobile, and the AI, and the hackathon the first year, while going just under €1 million for the next 2 years.
It is very well known that high-tech companies are very entrepreneurial, risk-taking, and fast-paced, something that insurance companies are not known very well for. So how do we merge those two companies, take their strengths, and leverage growth? We studied Kotler's 8 steps of successful change, and from this we've come with a communication plan. The main takeaways from our communication plan is that you'll have a digital team led by Victor, who will be the Chief Digital Officer. You'll come with a top-down approach for communication. Change is hard, emotional, and passionate, and with that comes resistant. So you must have these face-to-face observations and meetings in order to have the ideas passed on fully and effectively, as well as we suggest a luncheon with your current sales network, as they will be affected as well. Ongoing updates are absolutely key, and this will take about 6 months.
So the future focus for Helvetia, where do we want you to go after this 2020 strategy? What's really important is that you move on from just individuals and small corporations to large corporations. I, in the future, might work for a company like PwC, and that would be awesome. And I would have insurance coverage through that organization. So I would be able to log into Helvetia, PwC Insurance, be able to go find my personalized profile, and be able to customize it exactly to me. So we want to take that dashboard technology that we were using before and just implement it in corporations once it's already been successful on a smaller scale. But what I really want to draw your attention to is how this is going to benefit the agents and the brokers. This technology, this user base, is going to be really key for them moving forward. This interface can be used for them to be able to customize insurance profiles for other people. They might want to use it for life insurance in the future because that's something that is a more substantial purchase that you might want to be able to talk to a broker or an agent about. And what we really want to do is move people from brokers and partners to agents, so they have exclusivity to use this technology throughout time.
Next, what does it look like for the group as a whole? We know that you do not operate in silos, and so that we do believe there is a great opportunity to actually take the system and implement it throughout the group, utilizing a larger budget to take on greater risk and greater projects. But this would happen after 2020, where you're in the position to develop a new corporate strategy.
So we looked at several key performance indicators, but these are the ones that we feel would have the most impact. You have an 81% return on investment, a 50% increase in digital revenue, and an 18% net margin due to the increase in digital sales. So if I draw your attention to the graph at the top right, you'll notice in 2020, digital is expected to take over about 43% of your new business volume. So some of the assumptions that we made was about a 50% cannibalization rate to ensure steady revenues, as well as a traditional revenue growth of 2% moving forward. But that bottom 2020 revenue of $495 million, that's what really hits at home. It beats our target by $55 million through our strategy.
So what do we bring to you today? Well, we brought you an innovation strategy to partner and hire an insurtech to be able to use their technology and artificial intelligence and use some big data to be able to further your organization. We came together and we found Sysnet as a great software partner for you and to be able to have personalized dashboards and artificial intelligence. We created a marketing strategy that is comprehensive to target individual consumers and entrepreneurial startup groups. We also did some Helvetia Health campaigns, which will be able to help these consumers see these kind of issues. Lastly, we created a comprehensive communication plan for this to be able to be implemented throughout your organization. We thank you very much for your time today and open the floor to any questions that you may have.
I'm just going to start with me because otherwise the microphone will not work. Just for the sake of time, I'll just ask a couple of questions and pass the microphone to you guys. The first one is you guys talked about both digital, direct digital channel as well as traditional channel. I'm just curious to know what you have thought about not only acquiring new clients, but also the cross and upselling process that might happen along the way. What happens to those clients that sign up with a broker and are moving towards that digital channel? Is the broker still going to have the ownership over them? Is it going to be transferred, I guess? Or what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, so in terms of those further acquisitions, so in terms of going to the direct digital, a lot of the algorithmic learning will be what's going to be offering a lot of these different policies to consumers. It's going to be advertised on the user interface. It's going to be potential email to them depending on the choices that they have. In terms of the ownership from the broker, that's one thing that you'd have to be able to negotiate with them is once they get into this digitalization stage, and if they're transferred through a broker and agent, but they buy the policy on your user interface without the broker, we believe that you would have ownership over that because that is your sale, but that's something you can negotiate with your broker.
The second question that I have is, it looks like it was a well-structured presentation, of course. I'm just trying to understand if you guys have thought about any quick wins that they might have in the short term, as far as like going towards meeting the goals that they have within the next 3 years, as opposed to just making a huge change process within the company that might have an impact in the longer term.
That's a great question, and I actually think that the photo claims aspect that Rachel brought up would be the best first thing to implement. Something worth mentioning is that we do recommend that you go through this system implementation in an agile process. So not necessarily one phase and then one phase and then one phase, but actually implementing small things as you go along and then utilizing those for the quick wins.
In addition to that, quick wins are actually more important than organizations realize, and this helps with the culture change. So you must have those small quick wins for people to believe in the change in order for this digitalized pursuit to continue. Because when things get hard, people like to backtrack. So example for the claims, it used to take 90 minutes. Now it only takes 20. Tell everyone. Now can we do 10, for example?
And And the last question I have is regarding information. So you guys talked about partnership with different insurtechs, etc. Have you guys thought about any privacy issues that you guys might run into as far as, like, again, same example as the builder, who's the owner of the client? They might be looking to partner up with the small players. They might be putting some more clients into the table than the small players.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, understand that the industry is highly regulated and that privacy is absolutely important, and so is security. So we did look at a private API, and so how this would work is it would be your internal database that you would give access to the insurtechs and innovators. However, this would be earned. So this is not an open API. It's not open to the general public, and it's really something that those key partners that you've built a trusting relationship with would have access to, and of course, fitting within those regulations of privacy.
Only one question. You guys said that the criteria right now is 28th market position, and the goal is improved. I don't know if improved to the first, or we will see. My point is, in this market, that is maturity market here in Spain, how you calculate the reaction of the competitors at your actual plan?
Yeah, so it's a very concentrated market in Spain. The top 10 consist of, almost 70–75% of the market in Spain. And with that, they have a lot of capital to expend. So being 28 puts you in, you're one of the small players within Spain. But it also allows you to take a unique market position. So having being fifth in online presence allows you to take advantage of the digitalization before the big players want to commit their capital to it. And you want to be a first mover advantage in this, because then this allows you to potentially get more capital from the Habetia group at the end of your plan, because you've shown that growth. They've seen what you can do. Because as soon as those larger players want to put capital into digitalization, that's when you might need to do a pivot. But you will need capital for that. But this plan allows you to accumulate that growth and tell the head corporate office that you can sustain it, and that you can grow even further and improve that market position.
So I'll also try to speak with one person, especially the cultural part. So there's something new up there. It's the online part, but we have a history and tradition. So there are a lot of guys that have been working for years, and they bring a lot of revenue, right? But here's the new guy on the block that comes around with limited budget, and he asks for money, and he's promising me that he's delivering 81%. So a lot of resistance, and this takes a long time.
Absolutely.
How do you push that through very quickly?
Absolutely. So first, I'd like to touch on a couple of trends while Harris brings my slides up. The trends are that digitalization and individualization are strong, and we need to focus on this in order to move forward. So in order to do this, change is very hard and resistance is coming. So there are three main phases to cultivate successful change. Some are quick, some take a long time, such as culture does. The first three phases go for creating the climate for change. The second phase is engaging and enabling your organization to act and take part in this change. And the last is implementing and sustaining this change, which is the long part. So Paris could take me to, actually, if you could take to the coalition team, this is one key part on how to start with the quick wins in which you focused on. So like I said, Victor will lead this team. He'll be the chief direct officer. And this will be a cross-functional team that will help integrate the InsurTech team coming in, these strangers coming in that are scaring the people who've been here a long time. So the best part of this cross-functional team is that it's made up of lower end employees, middle management, top management. And this is because top management and the tech team can get lost in their own world and not have buy-in from anybody lower. So this cross-functional team engages employees, those leaders, those ambitious people who want to be part of this change. And that way they feel engaged and they have some control as well. Being able to engage each level of the organization will truly help this entity become a leader. And once this organization becomes successful, you can take individuals who've been striving in this digital team and take them to other entities so you can continue this in your organization.
Thank you for the presentation, firstly. We've been talking about this partnership with the InsurTech. We know that InsurTechs can provide or help insurance companies in different ways. You have focused on, let's say, service providing, but there are other issues or other ways of partnership, like product developing, or why are you focused on this service providing aspect?
That's a great question. I'm just going to walk over here and pull up all the other options that we looked at. So it is quite large. So even just looking at something like the InsurTech conference in Madrid, this gives you access to all the other InsurTechs that are doing great things. So to answer your question, we focus on this service, this platform to start because we want to build that foundation. We want to make sure that there is that back-end support that's necessary before you implement things like the product development. But that's where something like the hackathon can be really great in introducing all of these. Even going back to something like Independent Isabella and her motorcycle, we see that there's one for cars and motorcycles there. So that's a really great opportunity then. So again, starting with that foundation, starting with that base that you need, and then looking at all these wonderful companies that exist right here in Spain.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. I would like to go through the figures. You already said that you are assuming a part of cannibalization in your shares. How do you estimate the effect of cannibalization, not only in terms of revenue that's moving from one sales to another sales channel, but also the impact when you move to the traditional channel and you go to the new digital channel? Usually you lost some part of the premium because of the different coverage and so on. How do you estimate this effect?
Yeah, so we took in about an 84% retention rate, which is about average on industry, as well as revenue growth to take in the type of new business volume that would happen every single year and the new customers that you would bring on. And for the cannibalization rate, we took in the average of the industry as well. So what does digitalization typically do to traditional sales channels? And between 40 and 60% was the typical average, depending on the industry and the aggressiveness of the transition. And that's where we chose the 50% middle line. We also believe that and right now, digitalization and your digital sales is a very small portion. But as it gets to be that 43% or the 3% of overall sales, that's when you could see a potential increase in cannibalization. So you could see that 50% rate increase to that 60, maybe 70%, depending on how aggressive you want to do your digitalization strategy. Additionally, we have that user interface for the agents and brokers for you to just to show them that you are still interested in using them. You still want to bring them along with your growth. You don't want to just leave them in the dust. So with that, you want to show them, if you don't just focus on digitalization and you bring in your agents and you bring in your brokers and you communicate with them, you could see that cannibalization rate potentially decrease because they might want to try harder to keep your business as well as have your digitalization growth.
Could you please dig a little bit in this, what you mentioned about involving the agents, not leaving them in the dust, so how would you do it?
That's a great question, and I'll let Rachel develop it a little bit further, but one of the great things is Sysnet actually has a software that is dedicated specifically to brokers, and so we think this will be a great step for you, and I'll let Rachel talk a bit about the interface itself.
Yeah, so the interface itself for the agents is very similar to what you would see as the end consumer. However, it doesn't have those kind of like chat services because they know the insurance, of course, themselves. The real advantage for them is to be able to go through these processes really quick with clients. So when they have a client come in and meet with them, they're able to pull up this interface and give them advice. So some people are still really new in insurance. They're not exactly sure what they want to do. Maybe an app is a little bit daunting for them. So they might still seek out a broker or an agent to be able to do so. So when the client, when the broker or partner brings it up, they'd be able to go through this interface even quicker than any other that exists and be able to say, okay, this is the best premium for you. In return, they will be able to get more customers because they're able to do this quicker and more efficiently, and in turn make them happier in general. So we believe that although you are increasing your digitalization, they will be also pleased with this insure technology that you have been implementing.
So, we have any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The presentation is about to start. I remind you that you have 20 minutes to present your proposal to the judges, and then 15 minutes for question and answers. I will remind you when you have 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds left. Now I will let the judges introduce themselves, and the time will start as soon as you start speaking.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm making media. I will work for the insurance industry, consulting and advisory services within 15 years. So we will apply.
Good afternoon, my name is Julian Cortes. I work for Vettian and the Digital Business Department. I'm pretty excited to be here.
So hi, this is Piero Martini. I'm from Vettian Europe. We're looking at similar challenges all over. And so, once again, it's really a pleasure to see you.
Hi, it's David Fuentes from Navy. I'm working in the consulting sector since 14 years ago. Try to be expression again with you guys. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Saul Menendez. I work for PwC Spain in the consultancy line, and I lead the customer-centric strategy and the business transformation.
Vettia is a relatively small competitor in the Spanish market with less than 1% in share. However, you do lead in the online business as one of the top 5 competitors dominating the space. Now, as technology continues to disrupt this insurance industry, you are perfectly poised to take advantage of this change and really lead and push the forefront of this technological evolution. Good afternoon, my name is Stella, this is Stanley, Sorenda, and Matthias, and we're very excited to help you get to that bright horizon ahead.
And bright horizons indeed. In fact, we're forecasting financially for you 55 million euros increase in revenue annually by the year 2020. And the key questions, however, that we have to answer in order to get here, in order to implement our proactive digital strategy, are 3 key questions. First, we're going to take a look at exactly how we can leverage technology to create value for your company, both externally and internally for all your stakeholders. Second, we're going to take a look at how we're going to avoid negatively affecting your sales channel. We understand that your sales channel is currently extremely important to you, and we want to work around affecting that in a negative way. Third, we're going to look at how we're going to be embracing a digital culture. So how are we going to implement a culture within this organization that's really going to stick and allow you to become that forefront innovator within this insurance industry? Now, diving right into our presentation, let's first take a look at what the insurance industry currently looks like. We see 3 key trends, but outlining one key one is that we still see within this insurance industry that there's this high dependence on the agents and brokers within the value chain. We see that a lot of organizations are still relying on these agents and brokers in order to connect them with the customers. But another key trend that's coming into this industry as well is that the technology is ultimately affecting how you're interacting with these agents and brokers. Increasingly, technology is causing a lot of disintermediation, whereby these agents and brokers are being squeezed out of that value chain, and your consumers are more directly able to interact with these insurance companies. And ultimately, within this industry that's becoming increasingly commoditized, what we see is that there's an increased pressure for these companies, these insurance companies, to really understand where they can add value for customers in order to ultimately keep these customers with them in the long term. And breaking down these customer values into 4 key buckets, what we really see is the piece of convenience, customization, transparency, and independence. But what we're focusing on here today is these pieces of independence and customization. And it's really being enabled by this technology piece. Independence means that these customers are increasingly wanting to fulfill their own transactions. They're wanting to work around a lot of these agents and brokers and directly interact with these insurance companies. Customization means that these customers are increasingly wanting to figure out ways to get more tailored products in terms of their insurance package. And we really want to see how we can add value for these customers today from Vettia's front. Now, diving right into our key strategic pillars that we're going to be basing our recommendations off today, we broke it down into 3 stages. The first is sustain, looking at exactly how in the long term we can maintain these valuable relationships with your agents and brokers in the long term. Engage, it's looking at really how we're creating value both internally and externally. So how are we increasing your internal operational capabilities, but at the same time also increasing the value that we're delivering to the customers that you're interacting with. And the third pillar is this evolve piece, looking at how we can bring Helvetia's internal culture into one that's always proactively driving the industry forward. Taking a look at the sustain piece, a key statistic that we really wanted to outline for you today is that when we took a look at some of the top areas where these insurtech companies were disrupting the insurance industry, fell into this distribution piece. So this piece whereby the agents and brokers are helping connect the insurance companies to a lot of these end customers. But what this signals to us is that with insurtech disrupting this piece of the industry, Helvetia is currently facing a problem whereby they want to enter this online B2C channel. But it's really raising that question of whether within entering this online space, will they also be isolating these agents and brokers? And this is something we really want to address for you today.
Perfect, thanks, Stanley. So now we're analyzing two of our key parties here, which are agents and brokers and partners. And what we see from this analysis is that the majority of your high-end value customers consist of 42% have their deals through agents. Contrary, looking at the brokers and partners, we see that only around 50% of the lower end consumers, so these are the types of consumers that are paying regular premiums, but they're actually claiming a lot more. So overall, your probability of these types of customers are a lot lower in comparison. So this insight really tells you to really focus on incentivizing your agents to ensure you have that loyalty with them moving forward, even though you are focusing on this online channel stream. So the next question is, how are we actually going to do this? The first step is really explaining and opening the discussion with your agents that this is the way the industry is moving. It is becoming increasingly more dependent for organizations to become more digitalized and move towards these online channels, and it is necessary for Helvetia as well as all the other companies in this industry to move forward. Second is showcasing the new benefits of this new online channel. Not only is there mutual beneficial gains from both Helvetia as well as the agent itself, but they're also able to be exposed to its digitalization and be able to gain new skills with this online platform. It also makes their process more efficient as an agent, as now they can now submit claims through the internet itself. And ideally, one of the key things to initiate here is that 50% of your current direct sales, which is about 2%, is contributed, it started online, but they actually end up through agents. So not only are you promoting the online sales as a direct channel, but at the same time, agents will also be able to capitalize on more increased customers that start off on the internet segment, but then finish their purchase through the agents. And last thing is explaining this loyalty incentive program. What we identified here is that the loyalty segment is what we want to grow with our agents. As we realize they have some of their most valuable customers, so we want to make sure that they're inclined to stay with us, at least in the short term. So what we recommend is implementing an annual loyalty incentive plan. What we have calculated out is that 3% of the increase of their annual bonus in terms of the amount of commissions that they make is applicable within this new budget. And the second is to provide discounted items such as the premium insurance that are based off the commissions that they're doing. For example, we know that this compensation package can be very expensive, but we have calculated out that having around providing this premium of insurance at cost is around 49% discount is something that you're able to provide to your current agents in order to ensure that they still have loyalty as well as these customers moving on forward.
Now taking a look at the second piece of our strategic pillar, the engage piece. Exactly how are we going to create value both internally and externally? And taking a look at our engage piece, we're really going to be focusing on exactly how we're going to be able to use big data analytics to drive internal insights, but externally how we're going to be using an omni-channel approach that my colleague Stella will touch upon later on. But first, we wanted to take a look at the 5 customer segments that you provided us with today, from the ultra high to the ultra low. Now, what we did was go one step further and actually analyze exactly how profitable these segments were. And the key insight that we drove from this was that currently with your ultra low segment, you're actually losing approximately 591 euros per interaction. Annually, this comes out to around 28 million euros, and that's a very significant number for your organization. But more importantly, what it really signals to us is that this organization has such a great opportunity to now leverage these new technologies available in the market to better predict and understand the customers before they even come to Helvetia. Understanding based on your historical data trends which customers are more likely to fall into this ultra low segment, and really giving you the opportunity to price your premiums more accurately and more effectively. And to do this, we're going to take a look at the big data piece. Big data. So we're going to take a look at one of the key leading players within this big data analytics space, Hadoop, just as an example of exactly what big data capabilities are out there. What's so amazing about this big data piece is that not only is Hadoop an open source free to use software, which is extremely financially well for you, but also it's very scalable. It requires minimal training, it's fairly intuitive and easy to use, and there's a lot of support for this technological platform. And for a company that's constantly trying to push the forefront of innovation, we believe that having a technology like this that will allow you to scale and also allow you to implement easily is extremely important. But more importantly, technologies like this are also integratable with other software services, allowing you to dive into factors such as predictive analytics, taking a look at those historical data trends and understanding, predicting what kind of customers are coming to you, and also giving you the opportunity to visualize your data so that it's not just the frontline employees that are looking at these interactions, but it's also upper management that's getting the opportunity to look at a lot of these insights from the data perspective. And implementing the Hadoop software, we're proposing that the organization take on more of an agile approach towards this. What an agile approach looks like is essentially it allows you to implement things in a very iterative approach. We believe that this is very important because it allows you to roll out first your Hadoop proposal within the Pamplona office, and ultimately this reduces a lot of that risk with your implementation. As well, because of this iterative cycle within the agile approach, you're reducing a lot of that risk, but at the same time, you're also given a lot of flexibility to adapt to the market, to understand what trends are within this market, and to integrate that within your Hadoop software or your other big data analytical tools. I believe that this provides that flexibility piece for you as well going forward.
Great. Now the second piece of our engage recommendation is all about the customer. So when we were doing our analysis on who exactly to target, we knew that we didn't want to be targeting our current customers for this online provision, just because those sales would be cannibalizing our agents and our brokers and our partners who are incredibly valuable to us. So instead, we looked to two different segments, new customers entering the insurance market for the very first time, as well as customers already in the insurance market with existing competitors. And we decided to go towards new customers, so mainly millennials because they're entering the insurance market for the first time. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on exactly who this customer looks like in a few slides. But first, let's look at the customer journey and really how insurance plays a role. So we know that in many stages of life, insurance can actually play a quite significant role in these significant moments that people go through, such as buying your first car, you need some car insurance. Buying your first house, this is a super monumental moment for you. This can be house insurance. And then so on and so forth, starting a family with life insurance as well. So in each of these moments, Helvetica can be there for you. Customers as well, millennials specifically, are demanding now an even more seamless experience where they don't see the lines anymore between interaction with their providers. So our recommendation here is to target through an omni-channel customer experience. Now, delving a little bit deeper into the millennial customer profile. So why did we choose the millennials specifically? Well, they first and foremost are entering the market for the first time, so they're much easier to acquire than customers who are already with our competitors. We would have to compete on price most likely to get customers already in the market with other insurers, and we don't want to do that because we want to provide values in other ways in terms of differentiation. The second piece here is that there's an opportunity to cross-sell across the broad, vast majority of products in your portfolio. So as you saw in the earlier slide with the roadmap, you have a possibility to get them in for car insurance, as well as home and the other products that you provide. Thirdly, technology already plays an integral role in their lives. So these people just breathe technology, and a seamless experience with your company will integrate seamlessly into their existing behaviors. And of course, most importantly, these are new customers, so they won't be cannibalizing on current sales. Slide, please. So our implementation for this strategy is through an omni-channel approach, which will look like this. So what omni-channel really means is that it's that seamless integration of all the touch points that a customer has with an insurer. So these are the ones that we have identified here, and I'll go into detail on each of these next. So the first one that we're really excited about is the Live Well, Pay Less program, which is basically a variable pay program that allows millennials who have wearable tech to integrate their wearable tech with your existing mobile app in order to pay less based on the amount of physical activity that they do. So this is actually a win-win solution because studies show that, of course, claim payments are lower for customers who exercise more. So this isn't going to be a big hit on your bottom line, and it'll ensure that we add value to customers and provide them another reason why they shouldn't switch from us. Next slide. The second piece here is to broaden our scope of product offerings online. So as you can see by this graph here, in the past 4 years, we added 4 different products, 1 per year, and each product addition added an incremental spike of sales that was quite significant. And this graph, it's important to note as well, takes into consideration already sales that were cannibalized from our agents and brokers, and the net result is positive. So our recommendation is to first launch car insurance in 2019 to follow the other products that are currently available online. Now, the third piece here is to really tie in that human interaction into the omnichannel approach by going with a platform that has the second highest penetration globally within millennials in terms of social networks and messaging apps. So Facebook Messenger was an obvious approach. Most people already have this. They don't have to download an additional mobile application. And so the insight behind this was that customers are extremely valuable, and we need to retain them in order to really get the most out of their lifetime value. So we need to prevent switching when contracts are about to expire. So the tactic here was to check in with them at the 6-month point as well as the 2-week point when customers may feel the need to be switching, and check in to see if there is anything that your company can do to resolve any issues that they are facing to ensure the highest satisfaction possible.
Cool, so just diving into our third piece of our strategic pillar, this evolve piece. It's really looking at exactly how we're gonna foster that internal digital culture so that your organization is constantly pushing the boundaries of innovation. And looking at this internal organizational piece is extremely important because within this industry, one of your competitive advantages is going to be how your employees are able to react to this industry and to new technologies that you want to implement. But also more importantly is that currently within the landscape of Helvetia Spain, we see that the finance division, the marketing division, and currently the digital division are actually in 3 separate locations. But what we're trying to bring forward here with this innovation culture is that we want to integrate all of these units. We want to create that holistic Helvetia Spain movement, not just Helvetia Pamplona. And ultimately, we see that this digital culture is something that's going to be pervasive throughout the organization.
Perfect. So how are we actually going to do this? What we identified is that through a top-down approach is the best way to really global organizational change. So we go to the next slide. Yeah, so first it's starting with engage the top and leaders of change. So whether this be the C-suite as well as the upper management to really gain buy-in. And one of the key criteria for the C-suite as well as the upper management to gain buy-in was the ROI and the sensitivity of that. And as later materials will show, the finances are very positive in that. It's only in very extreme cases where we are in the red zone. So it's very clear that moving towards this new digitalization culture brings a lot more benefits than there are costs. Next is cascading down to the upper level managers. So these are the people who will be overseeing the bottom line. And it's very key to ensure that they're being trained within the cross-functional team and getting buy-in so that they are themselves are leaders for the bottom line management as well. And lastly is, again, your frontline employees. These are going to be the greatest majority of your employees that you currently have. And these will be the people who will be innovating as well, and consistently being motivated to work in this new workplace and incorporating digitalization into their entire culture. And we'll further emphasize this with this whole model of aligning your head, your heart, as well as your hand. So this entails the cognitive abilities, the emotional, as well as the tactical skills, so that your employees are equipped to take on this new cultural adaptation. In terms of cognitive, this means reorienting your employees to really understand what is happening within the culture and how they can embrace that. So whether this be done through change champions management, identifying key leaders within the organization that can pioneer this change. Second is emotional, so being able to motivate your employees and inspire them to take on this innovative landscape so that when there is further disruption, they're able to be agile and be able to act in these environments. And lastly is tactile, being able to equip them with the right skills so that they themselves are coming up with ideas and being able to react in this new environment with new technological change. So we see these 3 things as a key codes that's really going to help you drive your organizational change.
So in our first recommendation, we told you to utilize your
big data, you have 150 years of existence, and you have actually the opportunity of capturing data from customers online. And technology today allows us to use this data to predict customer behavior and risk. So we see that we're losing 28 million euros in our ultra-low customer. Using a simple sensitivity analysis, if we can go down from 8% of ultra-low to only 6% of ultra-low using this capacities of big data, we can actually see an increase of 9 million euros in profits and an increase of profit in our profit margin of 15%. Next slide will be the other recommendation is new products. We see from the graph on the left that we had an incredible start in the online sales. Each product brings us exponential growth, and we intend to continue this growth with new products such as car, liability, and travel. And the end result of this in 3 years will be 15 million euros in profits. Next slide is our sensitivity analysis of return on investment. We can see that here that our agents are extremely important, and we cannot afford to lose them. So with our recommendations and our implementations, we're going to stay in the top left part of this graph, having a return on investment of more than 300%.
So thank you so much for listening to us today. We really forecast those bright horizons for you, and we open the floor to questions.
So thank you guys again. It's our second time today. With the challenge study that we have on the table, could you explain us a make or buy analysis about the potential partnerships that you have to maximize your investment? I mean, with the partnership, not to build the strategy inside of Helvetia, instead of outside a partner that could build this strategy or strategy.
So we have an appendix that it actually stops into this your point. Can you find it? Sorry about that. So your question was whether to develop in-house or partnership.
Make or buy.
Okay, make or buy. So right here we can see that especially in the big data, that was the segment we chose, is actually more advantage for us to develop in-house. The technology and the software is already out there. We have free softwares, and we have also paid softwares that do amazing things. And in our analysis, cost analysis, we actually predict use of 2 engineers and other expenses of 250,000 euros to develop this product in-house. So buying is also an option, but we wouldn't have the flexibility of adapting our models through the years. So our role is to use data analytics and use big data to adapt our products, to personalize our products to customers and gather data so we can actually increase profitability out of this. And this type of customization is better done when we have the personnel inside us. So we can actually have, instead of buying every time we need something, we can actually develop in-house.
In your, I'd like to touch on a little bit the loyalty scheme that you propose. So you propose 3%, and I'd like to understand how you came to 3%, because it's close. It sounds very small, but it's a cuts away straight from margin, so you have to make that money back. And so I'd like to understand what was your line of thinking when you chose the 3%?
Oh, the 2%? Oh, the 2% was based on, first, the cost of the 3% is varies a lot. It varies on how much these agents will make the next year. So in our assumption, we assume that your company will grow more than 8% in the next year, which is a number that is higher than your previous growth. So we overestimate the cost of the loyalty program, and we estimate how much policies you sell, and the commission per policy, which is based on a study from the German market. So we use a proxy from the Germany market. So getting this number and getting your growth estimate, we found that we're going to spend $200,000 in this increase. And the thinking behind this increase is because if every year that you stay in the company, you get a 3% increase, you don't want to give up this 3% to go to another company, which is a temporary solution because in the future, in the long run, we imagine your company less dependent on these agents. We imagine your company to have this power over these agents and not the contrary. So we offer this increase, this 3% increase right now, which is bad for us, but we will keep our clients in our company, we'll keep our agents in our company, and in the long run, we will soon don't need this middleman.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And you have focused on the product portfolio opening in your solution. You realized, as it is, that adding products has a direct impact on sales. And you have chosen car, I think the second liability and then travel one. Could you please explain why the numbers or the reasons to choose these three products in the next ones?
Yeah, for sure. So we actually chose, so this is a great slide to show. We actually chose car insurance first and foremost just because we identified that was one of the largest segments where we make most of our money. I think it was around 41% of your business is in car insurance. And we already identified with years 2014 to 2017 that by adding these large segments, online, such as home insurance, for instance, which is quite similar in terms of market share, the impact to your bottom line and to cannibalization isn't negative. So you have a positive result here. We saw this as a testing phase, and so we thought that your company is ready now to add one of the biggest money makers on the online platform. So by testing and seeing the results, we came to that decision.
And for the next ones?
Yeah, so the next one's liability and travel. Those were just aligned with what other products you offer. Yeah, they were just like a natural progression from that mentality.
Thanks for the presentation. I have two questions pretty much related. You have already said, guys, that you are focusing on the millennials customer segment. How have you estimated the market size for this millennials segment?
Yeah, so we did some research on the millennial segment in the Spanish market, and the market size was around 7 million, I believe, in total. But right now, you guys have about 1% of the market in total, and so we estimated based on that. And I believe that we estimated about 6,000 millennials that we would be capturing in the first year through our marketing strategy. So that is less than, I think that's around like 0.3% of the market size in total.
Okay, how have you evaluated the risk of focusing just on the millennials? What are the pros and cons? You have a plan B in case of the millennials if it doesn't work as estimated initially?
It went to our customer analysis. So we did actually map out different customer groups to target, and one of the key things we'll see here is that these are the type of customers that currently exist in the insurance market. So we identified is that young indecisors are the easiest people to capture because they haven't been exposed yet. However, we do realize that because there are different types of processes that need to be manipulated because they are more indecisive or they're easier to switch around or they're less price sensitive, we do realize that one of the other areas that you could possibly do is with the low price middle-aged loyalists, as they do have a lower customer acquisition cost, as well as they do have a medium term for cross-selling. However, we did decide that young undecisiveness were the key indicators for us to pursue, as we found that it was a lot of opportunity for us to upsell and grow them through the customer lifetime cycle, from starting off from motor insurance into home insurance and then life insurance. So our backup plan would be the low price middle aged loyalists, but again, through this analysis, we did decide to go with the millennials.
Because you asked 3 questions. So could you perhaps elaborate a little bit more on why you decided to go straight B2C? There would have been other ways, right? B2C, for example, not only over partners, but take through other partners, aggregators, big distribution domains, but one is going to say in Spain, you used to go through us, or maybe what was the line of thinking? Why did you go straight?
Yeah, for sure. That was based mostly on our analysis of the industry and consumer trends. So we saw that consumers right now are demanding to be independent. They don't want to have different partners managing this relationship, and different partners such as Amazon, like you mentioned, we still provide a fee. So that fee is quite significant. So in the future, we wanted to be ambitious in terms of your bottom line and your margins, and cutting out the middleman altogether seemed like the right approach, especially seeing that that's where customers are trending to anyways. So it didn't seem to make sense to leapfrog down. Rather, that was just our ambitious approach to go straight there and really drive the greatest profitability as you can, since it's aligned with customers as well. That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Mainly focused on the implementation phase. So you guys spoke about utilizing the agile methodology for implementation. I'm just curious to know what was the thought process behind picking this methodology, who doesn't necessarily have a determined scope, knowing the fact that we have already determined what the budget is for the next 3 years, and how are you guys going to, or how would you adapt the budget and the time frame that we're working with, working in an agile methodology without mixing everything? Thank you.
Sure. So we chose to go with the agile methodology approach simply because of those reasons: budgeting, risk, analyzing all these various factors that go into an organization. And what we found with this agile approach is that because it's so iterative, it gives us that flexibility within the middle parts of these phases to adapt ultimately to any situations that arise. Whereas taking another approach such as a waterfall approach, where everything is a lot more systematic and you can't really go back to any previous phases, there's a lot more risk involved and a lot more costs associated with not doing the right thing. So we believe that the agile approach ultimately let us adapt to these market situations the best, while also allowing us to move forward with the lowest cost risks.
So, so I get how we get lineups. Usually not the most profitable customers. Next 3 years, you still have the old guys just buy more insurance. So I'd like to know how you plan to take care of me as well. Because I'm also digitally savvy. So I go to different channels, I compare, I see, and what would be asked?
Yeah, for sure. So, of course, you are the most important segment for us right now. I'm not just saying that, it does show in the numbers as well. And yes, so everything that we are recommending is open to this other segment as well. We're just saying that through our marketing, we're not going to be directly trying to target through those channels that will best reach those people, because we have our agents' intentions and objectives in mind as well. So it's a balance that we need to achieve, and in the long run, for sure, we will probably aggressively market to this segment as well. But in the short term, in the next 3 years, the way that we aim to achieve profitability is mainly through the big data piece, and in the long run, to bring in that other customer in terms of going online as well, once we reduce our dependency on our agents.
We're seeing this approach on the Insurtech. I think that it's really clear that the focus in this days is the service on the Insurtech, but there are other solutions, other partnerships possible with Insurtech have taken into account that?
Definitely. So we definitely looked at other potential technologies within this industry. However, currently what the situation looks like is, unfortunately, we're not working with a huge budget, approximately 1 million euros per year. But a lot of these other innovative new pieces of technology out on the market, such as blockchain technologies, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, they require significantly larger financial investment typically within organizations, up to the hundreds of millions potentially. But currently what we're really focused on in the short term is taking a look at this technological piece that this organization can actually take advantage of in the short term, given these budget and these scope constraints. But at the same time, what we're building in the short term are these short-term capabilities, such as determining, growing your internal culture, growing your internal operations, so that ultimately in the long term, when these technologies are becoming much more popular in the market, much less costly, you're ready to adopt them, and you're also ready to take on new technologies within the market, rather than being that company that has to lag behind other competitors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The presentation is about to start. I remind you that you will have 20 minutes to present your proposal to the judges, and there will be 15 minutes of questions and answers. I will remind you when you have 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds left. Now, I will let the judges introduce themselves, and time will start as Mr. speaking. Good luck.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here today. I work at especially in the insurance industry. I worked in Navarra for 15 years, and I was in.
Hello again. As you can remember, I'm Ilia Portes from Helvetia, and I work in the digital business, and I'm glad to be here again.
Hi, this is Piero Martini. I'm also from Helvetia. I come from the group. We are going exactly this morning to the same question you've been working through in the past 24 hours. So, yeah, pretty happy to be here and see that.
Hi guys, it's David Fuentes. I'm working in consulting firm, and it's really focused in business performance consulting. So, very interesting to answer you.
Hello, my name is Salomon Menendez. I work at PwC Spain. I'm in the customer-centric strategy practice and the data business transformation.
1,000 years ago, there's a fight, one of the most important in history, that is between David and Goliath. And why is this fight one of the most important one in the world? Because it tells us a true testament that a young small boy is able to beat one guy that is 10 times his size, just merely having the correct tool. And we believe that this recipe is a recipe of success for Helvetia Spain, in order to be the #1 insurance in the entire Spain in terms of digital presence. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are Horizontal Consulting. I'm David, this is Peggy, Janelle, and Nigel. And we are here today ready to present to you our game plan in order to make Helvetia Spain the #1 digital insurance in Spain. We hope at the end of our presentation today, we're able to achieve these three matrices. First being increase in business volume by 1.2 times, online sales 3.1 times, and lastly, return on investment at 75%. Before we start, let's look at our current sales channel. Helvetia Spain is selling insurance mainly based on two channels, online and offline. Online being B2C directly, Helvetia Online, and B2B2C, which are the others, which are our aggregators as well as our market. Then next is offline, B2B2C. Then we have agents, brokers, and partners. And we have seen that there's a huge disproportionate in our sales channel. Only 2% of our total sales comes from online, whereas 98% come from offline. This is such a pity because upon further research, we realized that the online industry growth of online insurance, CAGR, is at 12.3% every year. Whereas Helvetia Spain online CAGR is at 1.3%. What does this tell us? This tells us that we are not capturing the full potential of the market growth in terms of online insurance sales. So what have we been doing over the past few years? In 2014, 2015, 16, 17, we have been releasing a new product through our direct online sales channel. And every time we release a new product, we can see there's an incremental sales by more than 3-fold every time. So the question is, what should we do in 2018? Will releasing a new product be good for our direct online sales channel? But what does this tell us is that there's a huge potential to grow in the direct online sales channel. But, of course, as Victor has mentioned as well, that we have to be really careful to minimize cannibalization of our other offline sales network. We in Horizontal Consulting believes in what Victor believes, that our offline sales channel indeed is our hand of the golden egg. But upon further research, from a report from a PwC Global InsurTech report, it is seen that 20% of our revenue is at risk of being taken away by the InsurTech industry. What does this tell us? This tells us that true cannibalization is it's a trend that we have to look out for. But beyond that, there is InsurTech that is coming to take 20% of our market share of our revenue in the industry. We see a dire need for us to integrate technology
in order to ensure that our offline business is remain competitive. Since today, 98% of our sales still come from offline. Hence, we have two main key issues for us to tackle today. First being how to increase direct sales with minimum cannibalization, and second, how to integrate technology successfully throughout our value chain. And of course, when we are crafting our recommendations, we also have to make sure to bear in mind that next Monday we are flying off to meet our CEO to pitch our deck. Hence, we have to make sure that we're able to convince him and get his approval to make sure that our project can be successful. Hence, there's a third key issue that we identified today, is that how to transform and convince internal stakeholders. These three key issues might seem one that is very, very complex. Hence, we have come up with the very simple solutions. First, we have to grow Helvetia Online to increase our direct online sales business. Second, we need to integrate technology to engage and retain consumers. And lastly, we need to transform and convince key decision makers to make sure that our plan can run successfully. Hence, presenting to you our Digibox solution. The first triangle in the middle shows our three main key business pillars. And what I mentioned previously, we are going to focus on the direct online sales, since that provides us with huge potential for growth. Second, the yellow region shows what type of technology we can use in order to strengthen our main three key business pillars. And lastly, the blue region shows us what type of resources and support for the key management that we need in order to make sure our Digibox strategy is successful. I'll pass my time to Peggy, who will speak more in detail regarding our triangle.
Thank you, David. Now let us dive deeper into our three arms of our business model. So when we look at how we can increase direct online sales, we realize that we have four key decisions that we have to make. Firstly, what products should we offer, who to target, what kind of technology should we implement in our Helvetia Online, as well as what resources do we need to implement this technology. So firstly, let us look at what products we should feature. So we have prioritized 5 products, and we will further narrow them down using the 3 decision criteria above. So firstly, degree of the channel conflict refers to how much introducing this channel in the new sales channel will negatively affect our current sales channel. Secondly, if presence in Spain refers to whether Helvetia Spain currently carries the product in Spain itself. And lastly, the complexity of policy refers to how easily it is for consumers to understand the insurance policy when they are to look at the policy by themselves at home. And using these 3 criteria, we have chosen travel and term life insurance as the products that we want to focus on. Now we know that product itself is just a small part of the equation. What we need to do is also to have to develop Helvetia Online, have a digital platform. And when we look at Helvetia Online currently, the application still requires a lot of human intervention. However, consumers show preference towards insurers that help them develop online self-service interaction. Thus, this means that what we need to do is to improve the offerings on Helvetia Online platforms so that we will be able to capture these consumers. Now, introducing to you our consumers for today. Meet Lei Wei. Lei Wei is a 28-year-old assistant manager, and when she looks at insurance, what she cares about is personalized service, digital solutions that can cater to her needs. And when we look at Lei Wei, we realize that Lei Wei is becoming less reliant on insurance agents, and she's very open to trying new insurtech firms, getting products from these insurtech firms instead. And similarly, from a report from Essential, we see that 44% of Spanish consumers are just like Lei Wei. Therefore, introducing to you our new Helvetia Mobile, a new and improved Helvetia Mobile. Now, welcome back, Lei Wei. Now, we not only incorporate a personal touch with greetings and such, we also incorporated new products in our platform, such as policies and bills, which allow Lei Wei to now purchase her insurance policy on the app itself. We also incorporated personalized product recommendation algorithms as well as a chatbot to identify what Lei Wei needs. For instance, Lei Wei is going for a trip to Singapore, and what she needs is a travel insurance. Therefore, we will identify what are the travel insurance that Lei Wei needs and promote it to her. Not only that, Lei Wei can now choose the kind of policy that she wants based on what she needs. For instance, the amount of coverage she wants, as well as the activities based on her itinerary. Maybe she wants to go on a high-risk activity, so she might want to pay more for the policy. Next, we also want easy tracking of insurance portfolio for Leeway, so that Leeway knows what insurance policy she currently has. And this also gives us an opportunity to cross-sell other insurance policy to Leeway. Not only that, with all this data, we can now better understand Leeway, and we can promote and recommend products that are better for Leeway. Now that we have an attractive new product, how then can we promote usage? What we want to do is to tap on gamification using tactics such as walk to earn to encourage consumers to download our application. So how it works is that we will award consumers when they exercise, we will award them with points which they can turn into rewards. For example, if they walk 15 kilometers, they can have cashbacks for their current insurance policy. They can turn these points into food voucher discounts and rewards such as gym membership. And this will be supported by our integrated marketing channel, which incorporates above the line as well as below the line channel. Now I'll pass my time to Janelle.
Now, having grown our business model, it is then very important for us to integrate our technologies, which is what we are talking about here, the yellow region. So we look in terms of the insurance firms as well as the insurtechs. What are their strengths? And they have very typical strengths that are very different. But what is most important is that it's not about which is better, but it's about leveraging and learning from one another. And after that, Alberta, being a more traditional insurance company, is how are we going to innovate and capture these new technologies to help us integrate into our business model? So we use 4 criteria to determine what are the 3 key technologies that we're going to develop first. And these criteria are cost reduction, customer experience enhancement, speed to market, because digital 2020 is only 2 years from now. Therefore, speed to market is something that is very important. And also sales productivity. And with this, we highlighted 3 key technologies that we believe Alberta will be able to adopt right now, which is big data analytics, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Now, while we develop these technologies, it is also very important for us to address the needs of our stakeholders. We know there is resistance facing from agents and brokers. And what exactly is stopping that? Now, these agents and brokers feel that digitalization will displace them. But digitalization is not just about direct online sales. And this is what we need to bring to these brokers. Digitalization is something that can be integrated and it can complement their roles in that. And therefore, we will need to fill up this gap by sending down Salesforce to communicate to them. So now we look at, based on the 3 technologies that we have identified, how will we go into our insurance value chain in each part? And we'll begin with product development and underwriting. So some current issues that Alberta may face is that because we are more of a traditional insurance company, we may not be able to meet this changing trend, and this may make our products less attractive. So what we feel is with big data analytics, we'll be able to understand the trends in the industry, and this will benefit customers because we are able to meet their evolving needs. And not only Alberta, but also agents and brokers, we are able to increase our offerings and make us competitive in this industry. So how will big data analytics work is basically we have an inflow. So our feed will be basically your multiple raw data from your social content development, social media. And then we will actually have defined use cases. So Alberta will say what kind of customer behavior we are looking at, what kind of customer demographics we are looking at. And based on this, we'll have an outflow, which is the important part here. Valuable data will be converted into API. And this can then become a dashboard, which will be something like you see here. This will be presented to our brokers to help them, to let them know that digitalization is something that they can be involved in. And as a broker, with this dashboard, I'll be able to know who are my customers, what kind of products they would want, as well as where are my customers, and this will benefit me in my digitalization. Now, in terms of sales and distribution, some current issues Alberta face is really the very tedious onboarding and credit assessment process. And also, there's so many different insurance products, so how should I recommend what is the best for my consumers? So we believe that blockchain and AI and machine learning will be able to meet this. Now, blockchain will allow secure transfer of the customer data, which will facilitate our know your customer process. And for AI and machine learning, it will allow us to recommend the best products to tailor to our customers' needs. So how will this work? Now, Treadle is basically a startup in US, New York City.
What they do is that they have customer info confidentially stored into your blockchain. And the customer will then provide this unique link. When passed on to the banks and insurance companies, they will then be able to just access the customer data easily, reducing some of the KYC costs. And here is where the opportunity lies. In the Spanish market, currently, banks, what they're doing is that there's this blockchain consortium. And we believe that this is something that the insurance industry can also be applied to. Now, in terms of machine learning and AI, then different customers have different needs. And how we're going to use this to help Albertia, as well as our brokers and agents, is really to learn about the customer's demographics and at each part of their stage, what products are they looking for. And finally, claims management. It's a very tedious process. It takes about 1 to 2 months for you to get your claims current. But what we believe is that blockchain, with the help of smart contracts, as well as AI and machine learning, can help us to reduce frauds, as well as to speed up this claim processing. And this will really help us optimize our efficiencies operationally. So what we envision to be is currently the offline, there's no online claims processing, so it takes very long. But after a while, it has to be faster, and it takes only about 4 hours from the initial 4 weeks. And how the smart contracts work is that we will define the conditions that will lead to a payout. And upon triggering events, the smart contracts will then automatically self-execute that. This will help us to reduce the administrative costs and bureaucracy throughout the system. Now, having talked about the key technologies, how visible is it for Albertia? And that's what we look for. Big data analytics, we'll look at the data center, acquiring data center, and hiring data analysts. And for blockchain, we are looking at partnering with this Spanish consortium and hiring developers. And for AI, what we identify is 2 startups, 1 dot and Second Spectrum, that we believe will be able to help us. Now integrating, Nigel will talk how about we can transform the digibox.
Now that we have a business plan of having a strong business plan to integrate our direct online sales with technology, we must understand at the heart of every digital transformation lies culture. Culture is highly important to our company, and this is our vision for culture. We want to promote communication, open communication, internal communication, and the ability to be consistent in our brand image. We want to generate champions within our company so that they are able to champion the cause of digitalization, and we envision this in 3 steps. Firstly, hire a chief digital officer who will help us to bring this culture, but he's a leader, he needs champions, so we want to have digi champions to support him in this cultural transformation. And lastly, the most important step for your pitch on next Monday to the CEO. When we look at Chief Digital Officer, we realize 2 very important things. He has to have experience already in digital transformation in the past, and he will be in a temporal role when the company moves towards more integration. And we see that his key job scope is to create platforms for open feedback and communication between employees, to nurture understanding, to drive the digital imperative across the organization, and to have identified potential synergies between stakeholders, both internally in the company and externally, such as brokers and agents. He will then look for Digi champions. In our perspective, Digi champions are workers already in your company who are enthusiastic about the change, about the transformation, and he will be handpicked. They will be handpicked by the CTO, and they will represent different officers throughout Spain. By doing so, they are able to attend the host of events and programs created by the Chief Digital Officer, and they will learn functional skills, how to use digital skills, how to gain them, collaborate with people from different disciplines within the company, and most importantly, be advocates, helping to encourage their local teams to understand that digitalization is here to stay. The most important thing here is next Monday, where you pitch for approval with your CEO. We look at our financial projections and we realize that our strategies of growth as well as integrate is able to generate $31 million in terms of our top line. And we're able to exceed your $440 million target, of which 80% would be from online sales based on the nature of our recommendations. And we also want to sensitize this cash flows that we see going forward. And what we do is look at the cannibalization and sensitize with the average cost of capital. We see that in our lowest case, even with a 14 million sales cannibalization, we are still able to generate a positive ROI, showing a business case for us to actually proceed with digitalization. These are the 3 key recommendations, and there are 3 very vital steps. In terms of growth, we want to roll out our front end to the end user as soon as possible because disruption is at our doorstep and we really want to have a strong front end to capture the sales of B2C. In terms of integrate, we want to quickly design the dashboard and API so that they are able to integrate a solution for not just our end users, but also our brokers, agents, and partners. This will help them to push better products to our end users. And lastly, we want you to be able to be confidently pitching the financial projections on next Monday to your CEO. We also identified certain key risk and mitigation, such as the ability of agents to leave, and we will be happy to talk about them in the Q&A. What you can do next Monday is to put in your suitcase the business model, the DigiBox, so that you're able to simplify our plan amidst an age of uncertainty, to be able to pitch the financial feasibility of the recommendations so that we are able to seek top management endorsement for Helvetia 2020 in all 3 offices, Barcelona, Pamplona, as well as Madrid. In conclusion, we want to be the insurer that is with the #1 digital presence throughout all of Spain. By using our DigiBox, we're able to increase the business volume by 1.2. We focus more on online sales, tripling it in 2 years, and we're able to generate a 75% return on investment. To conclude, I would like to conclude with a story that my friend has shared. David was not the strongest guy, he was not the smartest guy, or maybe even not the most handsome guy. But what he had was a secret ingredient. He had a slingshot. And the way we look at it, the DigiBox is our slingshot to be able to capitalize on the disruption at our doorstep and to become the #1 digital player in insurance in the whole of Spain. Thank you very much, and we open the floor to questions.
Thank you guys for the presentation. I would like to ask you about more details when you share with us within the portfolio of products and you finally find that go ahead with term life products. What is the reason? Can you explain us why is this product?
Right. We believe you are referring to this particular decision matrix. So we've identified 5 major products for us to include in our direct online sales because of our insights that says the more we include the product, our sales through direct online increases exponentially. So out of these 5 products, we have specifically selected 2, the term life as well as the travel. Why? Because these 2 products are the ones that do not really require much of agent's relationship. Meaning, if I want to buy a travel insurance, I do not really need an agent to come to me and tell me how much premium I need to pay, because normally they do have a standardized price that you can just see online and do online payment and you get the travel insurance. Similar thing with term life. How about regarding the rest, go to slide 53. Regarding the health product, why we do not want to include this is because health product normally you require an agent, because when you want to do claiming when you are sick, you go to hospital, you do not really want to do claiming yourself, because if you do direct online sales, you do not have an agent that serves you. That's why we didn't choose health. And for the next one, why we didn't choose investment link? Because investment link product normally are not for sophisticated users, and the percentage of sophisticated users in terms of investment products are not as high as our health, our travel and our term life product. Hence, we leave the investment link product for our agents. And lastly, for deposit is tend to be very long term. Hence, we prefer our agents to have it. That's why we chose this.
So, by Monday you fly off, you speak to the CEO, it gives you his blessing. Next thing you know is you have an agent convention, right? Big gathering, all the agents are there, and we come the road. And you start speaking to them about blockchain, Ethereum, Hyperledger, because it's a matter of readiness. And so you told us you would install champions in the organization. But how do you accompany the change process in the network that is actually out there, also in the agency? How do you make sure, how do you evangelize? In a very short time, because you don't have time.
I think like when we look at internally, we want to make sure that our employees are on our side. So when we look at the lowest risk here, we would actually want to create video tutorials so that our employees are able to actually champion this cause. when we move to Asian convention, then we're able to look at certain programs that our chief digitalization officer can implement. So I think like we have actually a framework when we want to talk about this, we're head, heart, and hand. When we're at the Asian convention, we want to focus on how digitalization can help the end consumer, because we believe that as an end consumer, it's important to also understand digitalization. We understand that tech readiness may be a bit of obstacle for these agents and brokers. That's why we want to integrate the back end with this heavy technology, whereas the front end will be a simple user interface that people who maybe are not so opposed, they're more opposed to technology, they are still able to pick up. But the key concept here is that we want them to believe that it actually is for their own benefit and it will help them in the long term.
There was there talking about LinkedIn. You said that the 44% of the clients or potential customers were like bird. In which sense? Because I mean, my emails are around 44%. So which are the factors or the characteristics of labor?
So based on the research done by Accenture, we see that 44% of consumers are these 44% of consumers are the people that are relying less on insurance agent, and they are turning towards insurance tech as to get their new policies. So we define them as consumers that have these trends, these new behaviors. So what they not only don't not want to come to the old insurance agents to get their policies, but they want to go to these new technologies, go for tech firms that can value add them to their better. Yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. You said that the cannibalization was not the real problem. So basically, you saw a figure on your estimation of cannibalization loss in revenues of 3.2%. So how did you came to this figures? What were your main hypotheses to reach that conclusion?
What we actually did is to actually sensitize a few factors cannibalization. The reason why we actually look at a 3% figure as our maximum is because any level more than 3% will actually lead to our ROI to be negative. And the reason for the ROI being negative plus 3% is because our objective is actually to only increase 10% to 440 million. So if cannibalization is from 5 to 10%, then we actually negate the consequences of our strategy. So what we want to do is to make sure that we minimize cannibalization in our strategy 1, which is why we chose the right products and the right people, so that we are able to push the digitalization strategy forward. For scenarios with higher cannibalization, we have a few risk mitigation steps for that. So when we look at the cannibalization, the reason why we have to minimize on cannibalization is because at 10% and a negative 40 million adjustment, we actually only achieve a 400 million final result, which is only a 10 million increase, which we see as not something as a feasible strategy. That's why we actually have to prevent the domino effect from happening. Because when we cannibalize to the point that brokers and agents start leaving, this domino effect will be very strong. So we really want to choose our products wisely so that we are able to coexist with this traditional sales network that we have.
Yeah. I just have a question about the emerging technologies that you guys spoke about. And so you guys spoke firstly about blockchain and then AI. I guess I would just like to understand a bit more the thought process that you guys have picking those two, knowing how and where we currently are of the ROI that they will provide in a few years, of the capabilities that they will develop within the next years, and how extremely expensive it is and hard to acquire the talent and the resources to be able to develop this technologies. Why wouldn't you guys choose to maybe enhance current technologies that abilities utilizing, such as apps, websites, etc.? See how big data can play a role there, and you guys decided to just focus mainly on these two and try to take over them. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that question. So to address the second part of your question, why don't we focus on the current technology that FAT already have? We do indeed focus on that, which are from our first recommendation. We try to improve our current website, coming out with the FAT app. However, we realized after we actually do that, we do have sufficient budget leftovers that we can leverage on. Therefore, we're going for the blockchain. It comes to the next question that blockchain funding is very expensive and the ROI is not very certain over the next few years. So that is why the kind of company for blockchain that we pick is very specific to those that have already been proven to be successful. For example, the startup that we are partnering with, Trado, which is from New York City, what they do is to use smart contracts to keep the KYC data, the know your customer data. It allows us to streamline our process from getting the customer data and our backend process when doing claiming as well. So by using this blockchain technology that has already been proven, it allows us to save costs and our ROI can be certain over the next years.
In order to come to this result, you should have looked at the competitor, right? That's basically that. And so, and then, you know, these guys out there are also facing dilemma. They can use this technology on the front side or on the back side, right? Which basically means sell more efficiency or reduce your costs. Why did you decide to use new technology in the front as opposed to make your back office more fast and invest there that €1 million that you have at your disposal?
Right. We do actually do both. Firstly, our blockchain helps us to streamline our front-end process, means our customers now feel more pleased because in order for them to sign up, they don't have to fill up a very long form. Instead, they can use our Trado in order for them to sign up with us. So that's for the front end. This helps us with the back end as well in terms of streamlining, like you have mentioned. It allows our back end process to be more streamlined, hence increases efficiency. At the same time, we also do use smart contracts to allow our back end processes to do our claiming to be faster as well. Hence, it reduces the amount of paperwork that they have and allows us to increase efficiency as an overall.
So if I were to add on, the front end looks at the more short term what the customer can see, but then the back end look in terms of as an insurance company what our values, which is trust, as well as making sure that it's secure network. And that's why we believe that even though blockchain might be something that's expensive, it's something that's worth investing. And how can we then invest in a more profitable way? Yeah.
Following the competitors' aspect, all the competitors know about blockchain, AI, whatever. What Helvetia does there different to differentiate, to engage their clients or the new clients?
Right, to address your question, first we do acknowledge that many of the competitors have the same access to the technology. But then we also do acknowledge that insurance industry is a very strong oligopoly industry, means it is almost unrealistic for us to aim to be the monopoly of the entire industry. Hence, it is about the race of who is adopting the technology first. That's why with the limited amount of resources that we have, the €1 million, we are picking these particular startups and companies so that we can implement these strategies immediately in the next week. Therefore, we can have the full advantage. That's how we can get ahead of all our other competitors.
I would like to jump for the figures, okay? Can you explain us in more or less details how do you optimize your investment till 2020, please?
Thank you. I think we'll start from the cost side. When you look at the cost, I'll start with in the top, which is integrate, which is our recommendation tool. We realized that to optimize our spend per dollar, we need to save where we can save. And that's why when you look at the first two rows, is server co-location. Instead of just buying the server, we want to first rent it in cheaper locations such as India. And then we also want to have engineering migration and business development, blockchain development for us. When you look at the buffer, directly down below, in the first year we have investment heavy, so we have a small buffer. But in the second year, we have a $100,000 buffer. And how can we maximize this money that we have? What we are to do is look into heavier investment. If it's successful, we want to actually purchase these servers. And in the third year, we realize that there's some technology that we have missed out, such as telematics. which will help us with things like data collection, understanding more about the health of individuals, and that's where we want to use this extra cash to actually invest in. But we also believe that from this cost perspective, we need to have these buffers, and we have a priority from big data starting first to telematics to actually have a roadmap where how we want to spend this 1 million budget. When we look at the return on investment, how we actually project this is we see a 1 million spent every year from 2018 to 2019, and we flow down the additional revenue that we can get. And with the NOPAT, we are able to have the present value of the net operating profit after tax multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. So we are able to generate the ROI of 75%. And then we sensitize this to gain at a 0.5% cannibalization rate to gain an ROI of 75.6.
Yeah, one more question. How do you estimate the impact of selecting the product you have selected for the live product, and the sensitivity of the market is the price of this kind of chemical? How do you estimate the effect of paying all life and digital strategy for the life business?
Right, so to understand the question, just to clarify the question, the question is asking us how do we measure the trade-offs between the life and the non-life products? Is that right?
Not necessarily. I was thinking, how do you estimate the impact of needing to make discounts in the premium price just for the digital, assuming that the digital strategy for selling the life products?
Okay, so there is that.
And all the teams for the presentations, and Betty and the judges for being here for their contributions to Unicc'. Tonight at our closing ceremony, we will announce the winners. But before going, we would like to invite Victor, the director of the Beta, to give a few words.
Well, good afternoon. Well, I have learned a lot of things today. That's very clear. The first one is a very simple one that I would like also to share with you, and I also will recommend to you. This that never use your real name in a business case. It becomes really overwhelming at the end. Well, now seriously, and I've learned a lot of things today. Really, it has been amazing to see how much work you have been able to do in this 24 hours case. Even more, knowing that the insurance industry is not an easy industry, it's a complex industry, and usually a not well-known industry, and even in that case, you have developed a very good work with the case. Also, it has been impressive given the big number of ideas, the many ideas that we have got from the participation, not only of the finalists or the winners of the different divisions, but also of all the teams. I have been a judge in the first part of the morning, and I can assure you that has been a really difficult task to choose between the 4 teams because 4 of them had a real very good quality in the presentations that they have done. So the choosing the winner has been really difficult, and I'm totally sure that this has been also the same situation in the other 3 divisions to choose the winner. And for sure it will be again a difficult task for the final judging panel to select the winner of the competition that we will know this evening. Well, all in all, the only thing that I can say now is thanks. Thanks first, I would like to remember to Marcelo Moreira that I have met today, but he was the one who prepared the case, and I think that he has done really good work preparing it. Also, of course, to all the teams that you have participated in the competition, my warmest congratulations to you all, of course, to the finalists, and even more, we will see this evening, to the final winner of the competition. Also, my many thanks to the judges, whose involvement has been really very important to make the teams to go even more in depth in the analysis and to provide Helvetia with additional insights that for sure will be very useful for us in the future. And of course also my warmest thanks to José Luis Lecea and to the University of Navarra. First of all, because of the great idea that this is to organize this international case competition where the companies find a real opportunity to interact with the outstanding universities and outstanding students of these universities, as you all are. And secondly, also because of the impressive organization of the event. So thank you very much to you all. And well, you know, well, it has been a big pleasure for me and a big pleasure also for my colleagues of Helvetia to be here and to share with you this competition. And I can assure you that for sure, some, and I could say a lot of the ideas that you have provided us today with to us, you will see them applied in the next digitalization steps of Helvetia. Also, I would like to say that I'm sure that you, the students, will have all of you a brilliant professional future after what I have seen of you today. And finally, well, see you soon this evening at the dinner. And well, at that moment we will know the finalist, the winner of the competition. But until that moment, again, thanks, congratulations to you all. Good luck to the finalists and to the who will be the winner. And all the best to you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's it. That's it.